Arrogant, throwing fits, ripping shit, tearing it, imperative. Then I'm killing this mic no matter where I live. These derelict rappers acting the fool, this embarrassing is flagrant. That's the nature of this entertainment, and we can't even change it. Guilty before arraignment, now the system tainted. But when we speak, they all laugh at us. And y'all wonder why I'm lacking trust. Trying to fight a giant with attorneys that can back them up. That church versus science, both sides start acting up. I'm late on my assignment, hopping up a mile high, climbing, obviously never silent. New alignment, I'm defiant, can I describe it? Used to describe it as a young graffiti artist. Before the beard, I always got carded. Hit every bar, even though my bar's been the hardest. The scars on my face, and I ain't always been the smartest. But I'll show you where my heart is. I said I'll show you where my heart is. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my...
The type of guy that would ride with the breeze. I'm higher than most people. I'm cold and icicle freeze. I'm liking to Mike Tyson. I'm a bison, a beast. I'm hot like Jamaica, like right by the beach. My pops is from a spot where they're fighting for peace. 8 years old, out there watching people fight in the streets. All these sirens only make the violence increase. Yeah, we're still not loving police. It's that bright young American, nice, dumb, arrogant. Tight on a mic, but he might need a therapist. Heart full of kerosene, head full of fairy tales. Said that you're my homie, you don't know me, but I know you very well. Roll back on some West Coast shit. This whole track is wetter than your dress code kiss. About to hit the track, running on some retro fit. I guess so lit, I guess so bitch, now let's go.
I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody...
Come on. It's Tuesday. Hang with the
What's up,
fellas.
everybody?
Little sports nonsense and whiskey. Hanging with the boys. Cheers, my guys. Pinky, Robert.
Cheers.
How we doing this evening?
Let's go, boys. Let's go.
Nuggets are playing, and I don't care about the Avs, so that's all I gotta say.
I'm gonna try to be respectful, but
That's right. You better.
Look. I don't know if
might
we've hang on. I don't know if we've ever broached this topic, so I think we need to clear this up real quick, okay? We know why I'm a Nebraska guy and Colorado everything else. Born in Nebraska, moved here when I was young. All pros are Denver. Pinky, he's explained his Denver affiliation, and then obviously his Colorado ties are very similar to mine. He ended up here young, all pro sports, Colorado. Robert, you hang on to the Michigan thing really big and your Colorado as well. But explain where the Michigan truly comes from, because it's not even Michigan, it's Michigan State University for college.
Yes.
So explain your affiliation through up to now, because we want to make sure record's straight here.
Okay, so first off, that's where my parents met, was at Michigan State. My dad was in ROTC there, but that was also like my family's school. So my grandfather went there. And I think his grandfather, so my great grandfather went there as well. So it's always been in my family. My mom grew up in Michigan, just outside of Detroit in Troy. So it's always been like, if any sport was on, it was a Michigan team, but Michigan State was because that's where my dad went, got his master's, all that stuff. So like that was the team for me growing up. So like the Avalanche that's a swear word in my household.
Yeah,
like that was a no go. So like growing up, I had a Chris Osgood jersey. I mean, I watched all the Stanley Cups with the Penguins. So I have a very harsh feeling towards them, but I appreciate all that Crosby has done for hockey these last several years. So it's like a bittersweet thing. But overall, that's where any sport that was on growing up, it was Michigan.
So now, obviously, you were basically raised in Colorado, grew up in Colorado for the most part, right? So that's why you have an affinity for the Colorado teams.
Yes.
Does any Michigan team for any sport always supersede any Colorado team, or is there a Colorado team that is above the Michigan?
So, I mean, we can really dissect this if you want, like for each sport. So,
Yeah.
I was born in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So my first ever baseball game was a Rockies game. So that's
Okay.
why I love the Rockies.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. I love them.
So Rockies are above the Tigers.
Yes, Rockies
Not
are above
like
the
you
Tigers.
have a great pick between either one,
Right.
But, at least the Tigers have some history. But you got
Exactly.
Rockies. Okay?
And I've gotten to go to Comerica Park, so like it's very close, but I have more affiliation for the Rockies just because that was my first sporting event ever. Like that was it. And then for hockey, I can't like the Avalanche because when hockey was on,
Right.
it was the Red Wings. College football, Michigan State, Dad went there. As far as like NFL was concerned, it was the Detroit Lions, and then from my dad's growing up was the LA Rams originally.
Okay.
And I believe he said if it was the Super Bowl, you all can correct me if I'm wrong on this. It was the Super Bowl between the Rams and the Steelers, I think is what he said. And he chose the Rams, and that's what he stuck with. I don't know what Super Bowl that was, but that's what he had told me.
Pinky is a little bit better with Super Bowl historian, team versus team kind of thing.
Although
but that sounds right, Pinky?
Say that again.
Rams versus
the
Steelers
Rams
for
and the
one of the
Steelers
Super Bowls?
in a Super Bowl at some point.
1979.
Okay.
So
yeah.
yes, my dad would have been 8 years old. So that's when he made that. So
Okay.
the Lions and the Rams were what was on when I was growing up there. But when we moved here and I started really getting into football, I chose the Broncos because this is where we were supposed to live forever. I'm like, this is who I'm going with. So Broncos really overall, then the Lions, then the Rams. Because the Lions I was there with everything.
Oh, so you
and had
are
to deal with that.
slightly more of a Broncos fan than a Lions fan?
Because that was the team
Okay.
I chose as a kid, so I have to honor that. Like
All right,
that was
I like
what
that. And then what
Um,
about NBA? Are
so
you Pistons
NBA
at all?
I mean, not particularly. Other than like I know they've always sucked, and I'm like, okay, I had a couple of jerseys growing up as a kid, but I never really got into basketball. Really.
I mean, they were really good from the mid '80s to '90. And then they were good
Early
again
2000s.
from like 99, 2000 to like 2005, 6.
If I'm being really honest, and this is coming way out of left field, just because this is where a lot of my family is currently. As a kid, when I was living in California, before moving here to Colorado, finally, I did all of the recreational sports on base, and the team that I did for basketball was the Spurs. So I ended up watching them for just a little bit. My grandfather sent me a bunch of that because he worked in the media at the time, so I got a bunch of free Pro Bows and whatnot from that. So I kind of followed the Spurs for a little while, but it wasn't anything like I needed to attach myself to it, so I was kind of up in the air. So really, if we're going to go off of my list of things, the Nuggets would be who I really am going to go after, because that was my first NBA basketball game. And I mean, the first ever NFL game I went to before this first official one in the season was a Detroit Lions Broncos game, and I was in 8th grade. So like even then I couldn't it's the Lions Broncos. It's right there.
Okay.
And the Lions beat the Broncos in that game. So, it, not that that's really anything to tout, because that was the Tebow era and whatnot, but,
I was at that game. That sucked.
so yeah. That really is my affiliation of sports. And then we've already talked about my soccer thing, so we don't really need to get into that too heavily. But yeah, so that's kind of where all my sports
since we're doing the
backgrounds came
rundown,
from.
Who's your UFC fighter?
Oh, I mean, so for a lot of personal reasons, because this is who I really followed the last several years, would be Patty, the baddie. Yeah, I really like a lot of what he stands for personally outside of the ring and in the ring. For all of the people that don't know here, I do have a semicolon for a lot of reasons. So it's a kind of a suicide awareness thing. And that's a lot of what Patty stands for. So that's really where I put my allegiances.
Like it. I like it.
Yep.
I like it.
So,
All right. I like Patty. Patty's cool.
You ready for a slight hot take before we get into nonsense?
Give it to me.
Everything
Give
else?
it to me, baby.
yeah, let's go.
So I grew up a Nuggets fan, but I also have always had an affinity for the Pistons because my second grade teacher, her sister, I believe it was the head of public relations or something along those lines for the Detroit Pistons in the late 80s, early 90s when they went through their run. So she would always send her sister, our class, a bunch of free swag. So I had like all their championship t-shirts. Like we were first world country, right? So we got the actual winner of those championship games somehow. But yeah, so always grew up watching them and kind of always keeping a close eye on what the Pistons are doing because of it. And I think Grant Hill is the biggest what if in NBA history. And I say that because there is a possibility that had he stayed healthy and never gotten hurt the way he did, we may be talking about Grant Hill as the greatest to ever play the game. Legitimately.
Well, I don't know about that now.
For sure.
No.
For
I'm
sure.
I'm not taking that take. I'm not taking that.
He would be... I told you I was coming with a hot take. Pinky.
Look,
we would be talking about him as possibly the greatest ever.
And I hate Duke guys, but I loved Grant Hill. And I do think Grant Hill would have been in the top 10 conversation players of all time. But there was no way he was going to outdo Jordan no matter what he did. So
I'm telling you right now, my guy.
It's spicy. I would make you take a hot shot right now because that is spicy. But no, I'm not taking that.
Pew, 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 pew.
I'm not taking that one at all. Oh, Lord. We might be in for it tonight, fellas.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. I don't really have any nonsense, guys. So, I mean, it's up to you if you want to talk a little nonsense.
Start the penguin.
Unless you want
first two.
Or we want to close with nonsense. We can close with nonsense.
I mean, whatever.
I don't care.
Let's talk some college football.
Do it up.
So, we had some college football games last week, Thursday and Friday. And Jamal Murray's on a heater right now. 3 threes already. Let's go. We need this kind of Jamal. We had what? Who was that game on Thursday? That was why am I drawing? Notre Dame and I don't even remember now. Why am I drawing a blank?
Big Ten team.
Penn State.
There you go.
Penn State.
There you
go. I got no words for this one, man. I have no idea how they blew that game.
You think Penn State blew it?
I do, man. I do. There is no way on God's green earth that Penn State should not have run that game. Notre Dame's okay. I don't think they're awful.
Well, so here's the question. Because I had Penn State winning. I just thought the way they were playing, their offense would be able to dominate a little bit, and their defense would be solid enough to stop Notre Dame's run game for the most part, based on what they had done the week before against Ashton Genty. Did we? I'm second guessing myself now really bad because I'm wondering, did Penn State just have a bad game, or is Notre Dame's defense that good? There's been talk all season that it was the best defense in the country. There are some numbers to back it up. Maybe opponents don't matter as much, and they truly are just that dominant of a defense to where Penn State couldn't get anything going. And Notre Dame was able to be consistent enough in their game plan offensively to where the end of the game rolled around. They just kind of wore Penn State down, and then it kind of steamrolled into what looks like a bigger blowout than it actually was, because that game was really close the whole way. Penn State was always there if they could just make a play. they just couldn't make a play all night. So it got to the point where time ran off the clock and there was no more game left to where Penn State couldn't do anything about it.
There was talk Drew Aller could get himself into the top 10 conversation had he won that game, as well as had a good game in the championship game. And he was awful.
He did not play well.
He was
not
awful.
Well. But again, that's why I'm like, he was playing pretty good ball. Is it really just Notre Dame's defense was that good? Like, did Marcus Freeman and his staff come in with a game plan that was so perfectly executed that Penn State got beat? Like, and I don't think people are still trying to blame James Franklin. Like, his record against top 10 teams, top 5 teams, big games, things of that nature. It's bad. It's like 1 in 13 or something like that. I don't think he had a bad game as a coach. I don't think he got out-coached. It just truly looked like Penn State got outplayed. Like, no matter what they tried to do, Notre Dame was just a little bit better and they stopped it. Like, that's just kind of what it looked like all game to me. And it looked like Penn State was kind of always close because they're two good teams, but Penn State just couldn't get anything going for whatever reason. That's just kind of where I'm erring on now, that side, because I don't think either team played great, but I don't think either team played bad. Just one team played a little bit better than the other, and sometimes that is just because one side of the football is just really good.
All I know is Marcus Freeman has NFL teams waiting to hire a coach to talk to him after next Monday. Is it Monday or Tuesday that they play?
They play Monday, so they'll talk Tuesday probably.
They're waiting for that game to be over so they can talk to him.
It's wild because, look, I said at the time, and I still am good with it, I don't think Chip Kelly's a great coach. Him leaving Notre Dame, going to LSU, I didn't think was anything spectacular. I think he's since proven that, and I think it's
You mean
really
Brian
funny.
Kelly?
What?
You said Chip Kelly. You mean
I'm sorry,
Kelly.
Brian Kelly. I said Chip Kelly. That's ridiculous.
Kelly's, but yeah.
Chip Kelly left a head coaching job to go be an OC at Ohio
Chip
State.
Kelly was like, you know what? I don't want no part of this. I just want to be an OC.
I don't want to deal with the BS anymore. Yeah. No, sorry. Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame and going to LSU. So, and he said it's because he wanted to compete for championships, and he didn't feel he could do that at Notre Dame. And Marcus Freeman now has Notre Dame in the championship game in the first ever college playoff, which, if we're being honest, is probably the hardest championship to get to that's ever existed, because you had to win multiple games in a playoff system to get there.
Yes.
You didn't just have to be in like the top 2 and the AP or coaches poll vote you in, or the BCS and the computer votes you in for the top 2, or the other playoff where it's just 4 teams and you play 1 game to get in. You had to play multiple games, and that's impressive. So what Notre Dame's done so far and the way they're playing, hats off to Marcus Freeman and the boys, because while their offense may not be elite, I think their defense is. And their offense does just enough to make sure they're always in a game able to strike. And that's a big deal, especially when you're going into a championship game. If you can just keep yourself in the game, anything can happen. That ball bounces really funny ways, right?
I will say, for at least Penn State, I was watching that game, and I was watching 2 players. Obviously, it's almost draft season, so obviously I started getting excited. I was watching
one of
Tyler
those
Warren.
Bad dude. Well, they both are, but
Tyler Warren is a weapon.
Yeah,
he is a weapon.
They couldn't get him going. Oh, Notre Dame had him locked down.
I mean, he still had like 70 yards, and he had a couple other plays.
They were such a quiet and
it was
non-impactful 70 yards.
He had a couple 20-yard plays, and it's like they couldn't do anything off of that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they just never turned into anything impactful. Like, yeah, he had some solid numbers if you look at it, but then you look at the scoreboard and you're like, oh, what? Like, what do you get those catches when it was like 1st and 20 because of a holding? You know what I mean? Like, and they just so.
But I did think, again, he showed out why everybody's starting to hype him up.
Dude,
and then Abdul Carter on defense.
Dude.
Holy moly. I mean,
legit Micah Parsons type incarnate.
Yes.
In a lot of ways. And I'm not trying to compare him, but just size and the way he moves and his speed and his agility and the way he gets off the line and the way he attacks the quarterback. And like, there's a lot of similarities there. And
so His quote today was that he would love to play for the Cowboys. Or not.
Well, could you imagine
Cowboys or
him?
the Eagles? I think it was the Eagles. He wanted to play for the Eagles. And it was like, there is no way that they can trade up to get him. He's going top 5. Just put a pin in it. He's going top 5.
Unless Howie finds some way to trade trash for treasure and move all the way up inside the top 10 again.
I just don't see it happening, man.
Yeah, you don't. But we didn't see hardly any of the other moves he made over the last 3 years, and somehow he still did.
Well, they were a little bit closer when he did that deal than what they're going to do. He won't be that close this year.
You know what I mean? The dude just seems to figure ways out to surprise everyone.
No, he can manipulate stuff like the best of them. That dude's playing chess. Everybody else is playing checkers.
It feels like it a lot of the time.
So, no, I love Howie Roseman. I love that guy. And but yeah, there's no way he's making that happen. Sorry, Abdul. Sorry. You're probably playing in Cleveland or something. You're playing somewhere you really don't want to play. But
although you say Cleveland, if I'm a D guy, I wouldn't mind playing in Cleveland with Myles Garrett on the other side.
They need to trade him.
Yeah, I'm just saying, that would be Abdul Carter and Garrett would be scary dangerous.
That would be. I'm not gonna send anything Robert's way because Robert's eating right now. But we see you, Robert. We see you. It's okay. I know you get hangry if you haven't eaten anything. So
I'm chilling, man. I got what I needed.
So that's the first game.
Throw it at me.
Moves on.
Yeah, Notre Dame moved on. Good for them. Who would have saw this after they got beat by Northern Illinois, right? That's just crazy.
For real. At that point in the season, you're like, and they're out.
I mean, that's the biggest upset since Appalachian State beat Michigan.
No. I actually talked about this when it happened. The Vandy upset of Alabama was even bigger than Michigan and App State.
I mean, App State is that
was a big upset.
Vandy's a doorstep anyways, but Vandy would be at least considered a little bit higher than App State. That's what I'm saying. App State's on a lower level than
Vandy. but Vandy was the underdog, and they didn't just win; they blew the doors off of Bama. Michigan had a chance to win at the end of that game. I broke that down, and that's what separates it for me. Is Michigan still could have won, and they got their field goal blocked. Okay, Alabama was never even in the game, bro.
Alabama did get rolled. I will say that.
Against the team that
they got wrecked.
Everybody in the country goes to that game on their schedule when it's there, and they just circle a dub. That's how people look at Vandy.
And my buddy was in Nashville that weekend, and he said it was crazy, bro.
Oh, that's probably lit. I don't know if it's ever been that wild because you get the students out like that after. Oh, dude, man. Oh.
So we had.
But yes, Friday Notre Dame losing to NIU was a big
shocker. So for them to come back and now they're in the championship game, which is what's great about the college football playoffs.
Oh yeah, the two teams that are in. If it was just 4, these two teams wouldn't have been in the bracket for 4 teams.
No.
But based on everything you've seen this year and what you've seen in the playoffs, they probably are the 2 best teams in the country, legitimately. And they got to prove their way into the championship game.
Friday night, we had Ohio State, Texas, which, again, I watched. Junior is an Ohio State guy. So, of course, we were watching. And I was shocked. I was just shocked. Ohio State had nothing going against that Texas team. And yet, Quinn Ewers let all Longhorns fans down. All of them. He was not good.
He actually wasn't bad. He played a solid game. But that's the problem. He is, and I hate even saying this because I hate the term so much. You know I do, Pinky. But he's what a lot of people would say is a game manager in the negative connotation of the word.
Oh, boy.
Quinn Ewers is like a Kyle Orton. They're not bad quarterbacks, but they're not anybody that's going to take you places you want to go. And I still am just blown away that they were given a gift. And I don't mean this in a bad way, but when Quinn Ewers got hurt early, and they were forced to play Arch, and he played well, they were given a gift to have that out to just run with him and see how far they could go. Because his ceiling is so much higher than Quinn's.
But
And they chose not to.
The
They chose to sit him back down, allow Quinn to come back and play, and Quinn never played bad football. He just never played
excellent.
He never played a game where I thought he was the reason they won. Where I was just like, damn, that dude, nobody's stopping that guy. He's going to do whatever he wants. But I feel like Arch has that capability. And if you let him play all the way through the season, you would have won enough games to get into the playoffs still. I fully believe that. And you would have been so much more dangerous in my mind. And they chose not to. And I think they paid for it in that game.
They were scared.
Because Quinn is very much in the pocket, and that's it. And if you're playing arguably the other best defense in the country, they can bring a lot of heat, especially that big boy, Sawyer? Jack Sawyer. Is that it? Jack Sawyer, I think.
Yeah.
That dude's a beast. And if they're going to bring pressure all night and constantly have that pocket collapsing, and your quarterback can't do anything outside the pocket, you're going to be in trouble. And that's what ended up happening, I believe. And while Texas defense is really good, and that front seven is pretty nasty, they just couldn't do enough to overcome the fact that Ohio State's defense is just as good, but Ohio State's offense was a little bit better than Texas. And so they lost. And look, I'm not saying Howard is better than Quinn. They, half dozen the other, really. I think they're about the same when it comes to how good they are playing the quarterback position. But if you're putting skill position for skill position up against each other, and you're looking at what Ohio State has versus what Texas has, there's a reason Ohio State won that game, because their wide receivers are insane.
Dude,
they're running a deep-headed monster at quarterback that's the college version of Sonic and Knuckles.
Smith literally had one catch for 3 yards. That's how good Texas was locked him up.
It doesn't matter, though, because you take him out, fine. Take him out. Now you're one-on-one with Ibuka and
yes, Ibuka 8.
Ibuka, and I can't remember the other guy's name, but he's really freaking good, too. I'm drawing Downs. Is it Downs?
Yeah, I think so. Downs sounds right. I could be wrong.
Or is he the cornerback? Now I'm drawing a blank. I'm confusing myself, and now
I think Downs is the corner. I think
he's the corner. It's a different, he's like number 2, I think, or something like that. The other guy I'm thinking of, I think, is another wide receiver, like number 18 or something. And I'm drawing up. Anyways, and then you've got the two-headed running back at the Sonic and Knuckles level, basically. When you look at Judkins and Henderson, they just have more weapons. And so when you can constantly run the weapons at somebody, eventually those weapons are going to be able to do just enough most of the time to get it done. And that's why Ohio State moves on.
Caleb Downs is correct.
Caleb Downs, but he's a cornerback, right?
Yeah.
Who's the third wide receiver? I think it's number 18. I want to say
that would be Henderson, Judkins, Howard, Egbuka.
Yeah, that's two running backs,
running back,
wide receiver. Who's the third wide receiver?
Oh, my bad. There's Carnell Tate, G. Scott Jr. Tate.
I thought it was Tate.
Yeah, sounds right. That sounds right. So it is what it is. It is what it is. So Ohio State moves on, and they're what a lot of people had as the preseason favorite to be in the championship game and win it all, because they are a really good team. And people want to be like, well, yeah, but Texas, they shut down their main guy. And I'm like, yeah, cool. When you double and triple team somebody, you should shut them down.
But they did lose.
But the problem is what do you do on single coverage with the other weapons they have? Do you do enough to stop them? And Texas didn't. I mean,
if Texas doesn't, from the 2-yard line, kill themselves and ended up.
I mean, why you don't run it 4 times there is beyond me.
I understand Ohio State's defense is good. And I understand that first run didn't look great, but you just keep pounding.
You do. Absolutely, you do.
And again, at that point, second down, bring Arch in. Let Arch do maybe a quarterback keeper, right? Who knows? But, yeah. Kudos to Ohio State. They won. It is a cool story. Jack Sawyer, being a Ohio guy, makes the big play of the game, which was awesome play. Sack, fumble, return, awesome. It's beautiful. And again, it just, to me, I was just like, you may have had more options if you had Arch playing. You guys deserved it. You didn't have the balls, so fortune favors the bold.
Now you get Arch for a year.
Yeah, if he balls out, he's going to the NFL.
I don't see how he plays 2 years. I don't see how he plays a senior season.
There's no reason to.
It would make no sense.
You ball out 1 year, you're gonna be number one pick. You got the name behind you. Peyton and Eli are always there for him, giving him notes and tips and all the work they probably do together. He's going number one.
Well, and his dad was there for all of it.
Right.
For those that don't know, if you haven't heard this story, everybody that has, just bear with us. But Arch's dad, Cooper, most people would say is the most athletic and talented of all the Manning sons.
Yes,
I've heard that, but why? Please explain to me, because I don't know who it is.
Cooper Manning went to Ole Miss to be a wide receiver. Was one of the top wide receiver recruits in the country at the time.
He's got like a degenerative back issue.
Yeah, it was some kind of disease that basically, if he ever got hit again in a bad way, not only would his career be done, but he could get paralyzed and a lot of issues. So he decided to hang up his cleats. And that was all discovered, like basically his freshman year at Ole Miss, because of the athletic and the doctors and everything and all the tests and stuff they go through as athletes. And they were able to find it and figure out why he was kind of not feeling great and being injured.
He went on to be a very successful businessman.
Yes,
after that.
He did. And always very much involved with his brothers and their ventures and what they did. And obviously, he grew up with his dad being a quarterback, his two brothers. So it's not like
spinal stenosis is what it's called.
Thank you. So due to that, he didn't play anymore. But there was a lot of people who said, at least for college, he would have had a more successful college career than either of his brothers. That's how talented he was as a wide receiver. So, what could have been, who knows? But the fact that, most people you talk to would agree he is the most athletic and talented of all the Manning sons should tell you why his son is now playing quarterback at Texas. Like, it's not just that the genes are in the family and it skipped his dad. His dad was crazy good at sports as well. So it'll be interesting to see what Arch does in his 1 year at Texas. Now for the national championship game, Pinky, Notre Dame, OSU.
So I gotta say this real quick. Watching that Nuggets game, I don't know if you guys just saw it. The guy threw like a 3/4 half.
Everybody can see it, Pinky. Everybody can see it.
Well, it's a little small on the screen, but that was amazing. It doesn't count because it had already gone to 0. But damn, that looked good. All right, Notre Dame, Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State's gonna roll, right? I mean, I
OSU Big Ten, let's go.
Riley Leonard is not good. Like that guy.
He's not a great quarterback, but he's really athletic, and he does just enough to get the job done. Is really what it comes down to.
But Ohio State's got a really good defense too. Like, there was a way I could see Penn State losing the Notre Dame game. There was a way I could see Penn State. I thought Penn State would roll, but they didn't. And I could see a way them losing this game. I don't see how Ohio State loses this game. I just don't.
So maybe I'll give it to you here. Notre Dame beat Penn State roughly. I know Ohio State was a little bit more, but roughly by the same amount that Ohio State beat Penn State. Now, Ohio State's offense is much better, but I think we can all agree, for whatever reason, that Ohio State offense could show up 1 week and disappear the very next. It is not a consistent, high-octane offense.
Well, if you can, which not everyone can, but if you can limit Smith, they just don't. like once you limit Smith, it's like they can move the ball a little bit,
Okay.
but they don't have the big play.
So if Notre Dame is the best defense in the country, or let's say they're number 2 behind Ohio State, then they have the potential to be one of the teams that can have that Ohio State with an off week by shutting down Smith and then loading up on that run game. My question is, can this Notre Dame offense do enough against this Ohio State defense to have the ability to put themselves in position to win the game? I don't know, but based on what I've seen this playoff run, I'm going to say they're one of those teams right now that their offense does just enough to always find a way to have the ball at the end and kick the field goal for the win kind of idea. I think they're in position in this game. And I picked with my heart the first round, my head the second round. I'm picking with my heart again. I'm going to say Notre Dame gets this done in a wild upset that nobody saw coming, especially after that NIU loss. And I'm going to say Marcus Freeman does something that hasn't been done since Lou Holtz, and a lot of people thought maybe Notre Dame couldn't do anymore. And they're going to win it all as an independent. And it's going to spark a lot of debate. A lot of debate. And I'm going to love every minute of it. Because I've actually said I think they need to be in a conference. And
Everyone said that for the longest time.
It's because of the equal footing kind of idea for everybody. They're going to play a more realistic schedule, which they play a solid schedule already. But they're going to play a more realistic schedule within a conference that will force them to have to compete for an actual conference championship. And that's the idea where I think it needs to be implemented in that sense, because right now they just get to play their 12 games, and because of their record they're in. They don't have to play that big moment game that's do or die, in or out kind of thing because of it.
Right.
So that's why I thought they need to be. Not because of like, well, they can't be independent and get all that money. No, like go make your money, baby. I'm all for that.
As an independent, they have to work harder to get in because they don't have an automatic ban by winning their conference as well. So
that's also true. So you could argue that as the devil's advocate side to that for sure. But that's kind of always been my thought. Not because like I think I don't like that they think they're better than everybody else or all those other weird arguments that people throw out there. I just think it kind of levels the playing field more if they're in a conference rather than being out of conference. And also getting to kind of cherry pick your schedule year in and year out can do you a lot of favors.
That it can.
So,
and you don't have to play that team every year, right? That one team.
Exactly.
You just don't have to play them. So
they do keep USC on their schedule every year, but USC's been down. It's not like it is in the past, so that's not even much of a thing. So there's some arguments on both sides, obviously. But I would kind of always lean on I'd like to see them in a conference because of the fair play ideas.
Which, one of my favorite memories growing up is when Michigan State pulled the fake field goal for the touchdown against Notre Dame when they won. That was awesome.
This guy
was epic.
I mean,
anything he can do to talk about Michigan State.
I can remember.
Hey, man, I'm just trying to make the conversation relevant. All right.
I can remember as a kid, Cordell Stewart throwing a bomb on Michigan, and my parents were out hanging out with friends, and they called us from the bar. Like, this was before cell phones, right? My parents used the bar phone to call the babysitter at my house to talk to me and my brother about the play, because they knew like we were such big sports fans and everybody's going crazy and stuff. There's always those memories that stick out to you against, certain opponents and things of that nature that Robert happened to pick, a play that was something Michigan State can have on their little trophy case.
It's one of the few plays that they have.
ESPN just showed it like 2 months ago. Like, it was epic. What are you talking
about? They haven't been very good in a while.
I brought up the Michigan play because
since D'Antonio, yes, you're correct.
I brought up the Michigan play because I have heard a lot of Michigan fans, and it blows my mind. Like, it makes no sense to me. but they're talking about how the Ohio State championship, if they won it all, would mean nothing because they lost the
They
rivalry
lost to
game
Michigan.
And I'm like, that's some
That's
delusion.
facts. And
That-
you know what?
that's
The,
a-
you know,
No,
The
no,
best part-
that's a level of delusion that you cannot have as a fan. That is a bad, disease-ridden, ugly look to be talking
rivalry
about.
runs deep.
You lost the rivalry game, so your natty doesn't matter. No, that's like, I don't like saying you're stupid. I don't like calling people dumb. That's dumb and stupid.
That's
On
your
a
sign.
crazy level.
Here's your sign.
Yeah, dude. Like, okay, cool. You won the rivalry game 4 years in a row. Good for you. They won the national championship. Like that's it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they lost the game against you. Doesn't matter because they won the national championship. Like, that's stupid crazy that people are out there and seriously, honestly believe that in their hearts. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I could never even possibly try to comprehend that and wrap my mind around that kind of thought. Yes, rivalries are great and they mean a lot. But to say somebody's natty doesn't matter because they lost the game against you, their rival, what why weren't you playing in the championship game then? Like, I'm confused. Like, isn't that the game that means the most? That's what you play for every year, right?
I mean,
Pornier comes out, Dave El Presidente Pornier comes out and says, at Michigan, it goes, beat Ohio State, win the Big Ten, win the Natty. That's a crazy order.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Michigan beat Ohio State and win the Natty? Like, correct me if I'm wrong.
They
Last
did.
year?
But what? So
Ohio State will always be second best because of that fact. They did not beat Michigan and win the Natty in the same year, and Michigan did. So if you're going to tout rivalries, especially for somebody who follows that very, very closely, that matters.
Let's do it. Ohio State owns that rivalry because their championships are in the modern era. Their championships hold more weight.
Michigan just won last year.
Right. They've got two, I think, in the modern era. Ohio State has 7, I believe, in the modern era. You want to talk about dominance? Ohio State's been in the college playoffs or the national championship spotlight for the last 15 years straight.
Michigan hasn't been very relevant.
I mean,
outside of Jim Harbaugh.
I mean, you're also talking to somebody who would still pick OSU over Michigan anyway because I hate Michigan, period. But I will say that they did win and beat Michigan or beat Ohio State last year and win the Natty. So there is that they do not have to say currently with the current structure.
The year Ohio State won their natties, did they beat Michigan? I'm sure if we went back and looked, I'd say, yeah, they've probably done that too.
Because you have to.
I mean, Michigan doesn't have anything to hold their hat on over Ohio State at this point in time, in my honest opinion. And that's coming from a dude who I actually like Michigan. I was a Fab Five guy. I loved Desmond Howard growing up. I loved Charles Woodson growing up. I've been a Michigan, I won't say fan, but follower at times, just because I've liked some of their players, and the Fab Five was my jam. Chris Webber, Juwan Howard, Jimmy King, and the boys. I mean, come on now. So Jalen Rose is my dog, by the way. Jalen Rose is smooth lefty. Come on now. Who doesn't like that? So I'm not trying to put down Michigan. I like Michigan. I'm just saying, if we're going to do facts for facts and you're talking some crazy nonsense, let's put the crazy nonsense out for the public.
No one cares about the Avs, Pinky.
That was the Nuggets, bro.
Oh, okay.
So
Westbrook to DeAndre Jordan.
Look, on paper, Michigan. On paper, Ohio State should win this game. In my head, just looking at the tail of the tapes across the season, Ohio State should win this game. Nothing about me picking Notre Dame truly makes sense unless Notre Dame's defense truly is the best in the country and they're elite in a way that allows that offense to just do enough to get by. I'm telling you, I'm kind of picking with my heart right now, but it just feels like it's one of those years where Ohio State is not going to show up and Notre Dame, they're just going to have one of those weird, crazy runs.
Notre Dame has not won in a long time.
80, I want to say 88
with Lou Holtz.
Yeah.
But they've been to the national title game, I think, twice in the last
couple times.
15 years, I think.
One of them with it was Catfish Gate.
Yeah,
was the same year with Mente Teo, yeah.
But they get crushed. They've gotten crushed every time.
They have.
So
they have, and that's
if they win, good story. Good story. Happy for those Fighting Irish fans. There's a lot of them everywhere.
Yep.
So good for them. But
hey, full disclosure, I'm Catholic too, so there's probably some of that going around within my system making this pick.
Gross. All right.
The only way to live, Pinky.
We got to move on. All right. Where do we want? Okay. Before we change completely from college football, we recently had the Dallas Cowboys do what the Dallas Cowboys do, and they literally wait to the last minute to make their decision on Mike McCarthy. They let his contract expire, which is a very Jerry Jones thing to do. So
because they couldn't come to terms. They mutually parted ways because they couldn't come to terms.
Which tells me they didn't really want him back that much, that hard.
I would agree. I would agree with that.
But they're late to the party now. And they can't talk to anybody really that they might want until after some of these games this next weekend.
Well, they're only late to the party if their top choice, which by all reports very well might be their top choice, is somebody they can talk to whenever they want to.
That is true.
If that was their plan all along, then they're not late to the party at all. They were just taking their sweet time.
And this is something that I am just completely against. Dion being the coach of the Cowboys, to me, makes no sense.
Dumbest idea.
Why? Why?
Why?
Because I don't think he's going to be a good leader of overpaid millionaires. The way he likes to run his programs is not going to fly in the NFL. And he said that from day one. That's the main reason he said he'll never coach in the NFL, because of how he wants to run his program, not have that. Now, again, you can change your mind. I just don't think he's going to work well with these guys. I think he's going to tell them like it is, and he'd be more like a Belichick. And that Belichick's way of going only works if you're winning. And the first moment they're not winning, it's going to go downhill quick. Look at Gerard Mayo. If Gerard Mayo was winning a couple more games, that dude still has a job. But that locker room got completely soured against him and did not want him back because they were not winning.
I understand what you're saying.
And I don't
totally get it.
I think Dion's a good recruiter in college football. I don't know how good a coach Dion is, to be honest.
You don't have to be a good coach to be a head coach, though. I think that's what people forget. You have to be a good CEO. You have to be a great leader. And I think Dion is a phenomenal leader.
Yes.
And I think he has enough charisma and personality to be able to work with every level of age bracket that's within an NFL locker room. Because he can deal with the kids, rookies, and first couple of years on that college type level, kind of stern dad if you want to. He can deal with the vets in a more, you boys need to lead this yourself kind of thing, and be there as a backup or a end all be all type decision maker if you have to be. And he can work with the guys in the middle. Dion could be a great players coach. I have no doubt in my mind about that as far as being a head coach goes. I also think he could pick a great staff that could do a lot of great things within the NFL. The reason I don't think it would work is because I think Dion would have to have it his way at all times. And if that's what happens in Dallas, you know what happens? And this is a scary idea for me, but I truly believe this. You could see Dion go grab a Super Bowl in the first 3 or 4 years. But then I think he'd be out after that. Because I think it would get so tenuous and tense between Jerry and Dion just constantly butting heads, they would have to end it. I see it exactly as a Jimmy Johnson thing. Jimmy Johnson was a great leader of men. He was a great head coach. And that proved at every level. And he did his things his way. And when Jerry didn't like the fact that people thought Jimmy was running the show, that was it. Jerry made it very clear. He was running the show and he fired Jimmy because he wanted the accolades, not the head coach. I think Deion, if he was the head coach of Dallas, would be the exact same. Maybe they don't win a Super Bowl. They're just really successful for 3 or 4 years. But I think then they would amicably, in the media anyways, mutually agree to split ways because they'd just be butting heads the whole time, constantly.
I just don't see it. And I love Deion. I do. I always have. And I think he's perfectly great. Go to a different college, fine, whatever. Like, I don't think he will be a successful NFL coach. I just don't. And I think this is anything more than just being a circus in Dallas. Dallas has become almost a joke to this point, and I feel for their fans. They deserve better.
They are a joke.
I feel like they would get Hard Knocks. They'll get clicks. They'll make money. I mean, the Cowboys make money anytime they're in the news. That's what they do. But it's not going to relate to wins, and I think that's what bringing in Deion would do.
I think you could seriously make an argument that Jerry's the worst owner in the NFL. And I think I would listen to it. I'm not saying I would agree with it.
Said that for years.
Unfortunately, if Woody Johnson and Jimmy Haslam weren't in the NFL, I think you'd have a really good case that Jerry is the worst. But as long as they still own teams, those two are the worst.
Yeah, but I think there's even an argument that you could say Jerry's worst because he does this just good enough to get by, not good enough to win. That's almost worse to do to your fans now that people have kind of figured out that's exactly what he's been doing. Rather than, look, we made really stupid moves and we don't know what we're doing. At least you know we're going to suck because we're idiots and we keep making stupid moves. We're going to suck. Whereas Dallas always has this hope because they do have good rosters. They do have the potential to possibly go to a Super Bowl and win. They do have talent sometimes where they could do that. And then one thing leads to another and they Charger. But really what they do is they Dallas Cowboy in the playoffs. Chargers just Charger all the time, no matter what the situation. Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs when it matters the most. And that's been their MO since Jimmy Johnson left. I mean, Barry Switzer got one, but those were still Jimmy's guys, right? Everybody knows that.
That was Jimmy's Super Bowl.
It was like everything was still Jimmy Johnson except for the head coach, Barry Switzer. So, it's arguably worse. It's arguably worse than anything any other owner is doing in the NFL because you're constantly giving your fans hope and bringing them back and never having an empty stadium because of that. But then as the season progresses and it's like, oh, we need this move or we're thin here or everybody said we're thin here and you said it's going to work out. And then as the season progresses, everybody's like, I told you so. And Jerry goes, well, the reason we didn't do it is A, B, and C. And he's always got some backdoor excuse.
There is nothing better than the Cowboys meme where it's like, we them boys, something happens, we them boys, and then it's like that circle that keeps going and like they just break your heart. It's what they do. So, but
it's hard to say. It's hard to say what they're going to do. Obviously, Mike McCarthy's out. I actually could see Deion working in the short term. I don't see it being a long-term good situation.
I just don't see. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be a good. I don't think he'd be a good NFL coach. I just don't. And I think he's an okay. I don't think he's an amazing college coach. I think he's okay. And he's done good things, but
I think he's a great college coach. Like really, really great because, like you said, he's a recruiter. And again, a head coach. People keep thinking a head coach needs to be this great X's and O's kind of guy. And I'll continue to say, no, they need to be really good at delegating and knowing who to put in positions of power to make the right decisions for them on their behalf kind of thing. A great leader can drag people along when it's needed, but they can also sit in the back and just follow everybody's lead because you put all those people in position and gave them the power to make those decisions. And if you pick the right people, a great leader actually just gets to sit back and watch. And everybody else does the work for you a lot of the times. And that's what Deion's able to do in these situations from Jackson State to Colorado. And so I feel like now, I say all that, and his first hire could be bringing Pat Schumer along as his offensive coordinator, and I'd immediately look at you and be like, I'm out. I was wrong. That was stupid of me to say. Pat Schumer works at the college level with Shador. There's no way I would say that would be a good hire at the NFL level again as your OC. But I do think he would be good in the NFL ranks still. Jack, they ran up against a buzzsaw team in Buffalo who might be the best team in the NFL. And they were, look, if we're being honest, they outplayed their ability all season. And not necessarily in a huge way, but nobody expected them to even make the playoffs. So the fact that defense was as good as it was all season.
We're not going to take, Jack, we're not going to take any of this bullshit tonight. All right? I saw that on Raiders Twitter's loving things because the Broncos lost and the Chargers lost. You guys are fucking pathetic this year, and you got balls to talk shit. The Bills can put up 30 on any defense on a given day. I don't care if you've got the best defense in the NFL. They can put 30 on you because of what they can do and grind you down. So I don't want to hear that shit. If you want to talk that, we can go offline and talk it, but like, you guys were fucking putrid all year, and you're going to talk shit? Come on, bro. Let's be better than that.
Jack, if you had been here from the beginning, you would have known Pika was already sparked up. So you came in when he was already hot, sir.
I'm tired. Like, again, to me, that's the bullshit. Like, Michigan fans thinking it's okay if Ohio State wins a natty. Like, that's stupid. Talking shit about the Broncos when your team is fucking pathetic right now because they have no QB and no coach. And no GM. Like, come on. What are we talking about here? Yeah, you've got the 6th pick.
Move along, Pinky.
Sorry, one of my best friends is a Raiders fan, and he's even smarter than that. I mean, he wasn't talking jack after the game. He knew what happened. They got beat by a better team. So that happens. All right. You guys pick where we go next, because now I'm getting fired up. Jack must know how to push my buttons. That guy.
Oh my goodness.
Well, we can talk about the Ravens game. Ravens Steelers. Caleb.
I mean,
it's all love, Jack. I just like to give you some shit.
It's just cracking up the timing of that. The timing was marvelous.
Oh man.
Ravens Steelers, it was what we expected. The score might not have shown a blowout in the sense of the word per se, but Baltimore.
Nope, hang on, Pinky. Nope.
Hold on.
Caleb, keep going. No, Pinky, you gotta wait.
No, I just gotta mention this.
Hold on.
Besides the Tampa Bay Commanders game, all these games were fucking turds. All of them. That was the only good game of the weekend.
I mean, yes. You're right. None of the games were great, and kind of to tie in college to pro, everybody's talking about this, that, and the other with the college game and some of these blowouts. Indiana got a lot of heat, and they're now only 2 losses of the season were to the 2 teams playing in the championship game. Blowouts happen no matter what you set it up as. It's always going to be there. It'll always happen. You're never going to have great games no matter what. Like, that's just not the way it works. So, look, yes, Pinky, you're right. They were all pretty much turds except for that Bucks-Washington game.
But that wasn't the point. Anyways.
I'm just saying, at the end of the day, like, all these games were so bad. The best teams won. The teams with the best quarterbacks won this weekend.
I'm going to say this. Tomlin going to Russ instead of seeing what Justin Fields could have been capable of for a full season and just trusting him and just, giving him the reins, opening the playbook and going, I think actually ended up costing Pittsburgh the ability to steal a game when it really mattered because Russ slowly turned into Russ as the season progressed and limited their abilities. Wait,
Caleb, I'm going to cheers you because one thing I will admit, Justin Fields had done nothing to make the change to Russ. And I felt like they pulled that too quick. You could have let it run a couple more games. If Fields really shows you like, hey, this guy, he's not getting it done, you got that easy pull. Once you put Russ back in, he had to completely flounder to then put Fields back in. And Russ, he didn't play great, but he wasn't completely awful, but he was what we saw in Denver, like the last 5 games that they lost. Inconsistent, taking sacks, turning the ball over, not making plays. Now,
if the deep ball isn't hitting, it doesn't look good, kind of thing.
Jack, we're almost there. We'll talk about the Broncos in a little bit, but and that's a very valid point you just made. We'll talk about that. Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh, I think it's just time. I think it's time.
I think he's a great coach.
I do. But every coach runs out their team.
It kind of feels like it's almost stale now, and it almost feels like, and this is crazy to say, but it almost feels like he lost the locker room. Like the reports coming out about George Pickens and showing up like 2 hours before the game, before kickoff on like Christmas Day, and all the other things going on with him, and some of the other things that you kind of heard trickle out here and there. It's like, it sounds crazy to say, but as a player coach, sometimes your message does no longer hit, and maybe you're right, Pinky.
It's a tough situation because I don't like he hasn't lost the team. They make the playoffs or they're close to the playoffs every single, he has winning season every year. But there's just again, they haven't won a playoff game since 2016, I believe. And they've gone to the playoffs, I think, 5 out of those 7 seasons.
Something like that.
So there's a disconnect here. And sometimes you just need new voice, new direction. I know the Steelers don't like to make changes. They've only had 3 head coaches in the Super Bowl era.
Crazy. Just right? Crazy.
So,
but I get it. Each dude has the job for 20 years. It makes sense.
I get it. I like Tomlin. I think Tomlin's a great coach. I think Tomlin could go to another team and make that other team a continual playoff team. Maybe, and you can say this again, Tomlin got lucky. That Steelers Super Bowl that he won was very, very lucky in 2009. Again, I still think the Cardinals could have won that game. But
to say you got lucky, like, you're in the Super Bowl. At that point, I don't think luck has anything to do with, the ball can bounce crazy ways. I wouldn't say, they played a really good game. James Harrison, that wasn't a lucky interception. That was an incredible play.
No, that's one of the best plays of Super Bowl history.
You know what I mean? So it's not like they didn't make plays to have a chance. So that's why I lucky maybe, but I did feel like Arizona maybe should have won that game, but still, that catch by Santonio Holmes was stupid. And
I still don't think he got the second foot down. I've watched the replay multiple times.
It's questionable if that toe is touching grass or not, but either way, that's a hell of a catch.
He did catch it. It's in a spot that nobody else could touch it. They won, but other than that, I know they went back to the Super Bowl in 2010 against the Packers, and the Packers Aaron Rodgers at the height of his powers was amazing. So other than that, though, they haven't done anything. And again, unfortunately for the Steelers, right, they were in the AFC with Brady and Manning.
Well, but I also don't think it's all Tomlin's fault. They held on to Roethlisberger 2, maybe 3 years longer than they should have.
Definitely, I'll give you definitely 2.
Fault. Right, definitely 2 for sure. But I'm just saying that you could maybe argue 3 if you wanted to.
You could say for a couple of Roethlisberger's years, they were focused more on the offense than the defense, which the defense is what had made them what they were. There was that. So, but I do think it's time. The Ravens look so damn good. So damn good. I kind of wish this Ravens-Bills game coming up, we'll talk about the Bills some more. I wish that was the AFC Championship game.
Well,
Like,
we'll
I
get
really,
there. Just
I really feel like this is the
finish the
best game we
divisional
could have
rounds
got.
on both sides, and then we'll get to.
Right.
I mean,
I'm
the
saying
wild
I'm
card.
sad. I'm sad that it worked out that we're getting this game
All
this
right.
weekend.
Let's
versus next
finish the
week.
wild card, then we'll talk divisional. But so in Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Lamar did not. He kind of broke away from that myth of him not being able to play against Pittsburgh, and they've got his number, and he can't play well against them. He didn't have a huge game, but he had a really good game. And then Derrick Henry going off, and it is what it is. So Baltimore's dangerous going forward. There's no doubt about it.
They really are. Derrick Henry looks amazing. Rashad Bateman. They didn't even have Flowers. They'll have Flowers hopefully this weekend. So good, man.
So let's talk about Buffalo, Denver next, Pinky. Jack's asking some Denver questions. We'll answer a couple.
All right.
We'll move
All
along.
right. So, I mean,
Look, plain and simple, Denver is not a great team right now. They're a good team that I think
They
played
have
a little
potential.
bit. They played a little bit above their level this year and found themselves in position to be in the playoffs. They're a year or two ahead of schedule from where they really want to be, which when you can fast forward that rebuild or the reload or whatever you want to call it, that's always a plus. So, look, if there was any Broncos fan out there who truly thought Denver was going to win, I'm sorry that your hopes were busted that badly. I'm not saying that was wrong to believe that, because there were scenarios in which Denver might have been able to win a game and steal one, and we talked about those. But, if you really went into that game as a Broncos fan going, we are winning and upsetting Buffalo, we're going to shock the world, like, your bubble got burst pretty hard because you got blown the F out, right? Like, sorry. And especially after that first series. You go up 7-0 on Buffalo with that deep ball to Franklin from Bo Nix. You're hyped. You're feeling really good, and then you never score again. So, it got progressively worse the whole game for that situation.
We're able to get the ball right before halftime, and we drive down to kick a field goal, and the field goal doinks, and you're like, oh, man.
So it is what it is, but they're ahead of schedule. That's a good sign. You've got some great pieces that balled out this year on the defensive side. The question going forward will be, can they repeat that performance? Not necessarily the numbers, because especially on defense and the line and the linebackers and stuff, you don't necessarily have to repeat the numbers every year. It's, can you continue to make the other team focused on you and their game plan every year? And if you can do that, then your defense is always going to be good because other guys are going to be able to make plays. So there's some question marks still on the defensive side because they're young guys. They're unproven until this year. So can they repeat that? If they can, the defense is good for a lot of years to come. The question is more on the offensive side because they have some weapons, but they still had a rookie QB, and they don't have a weapon on offense that the other team is like, oh shit. They've got some good pieces. I do believe Cortland Sutton, and I said this to start the season. If he's truly healthy, I believe he's a low-end number one. I do. I think he's a really good wide receiver. But he's not a wide receiver that does anything necessarily where you go, we really got a game plan for Cortland Sutton. You can just normal game plan, and he might beat you, he might not. But they don't have that explosive piece. And they don't have a running back that is explosive. They have some good running backs. They don't have an explosive piece. And then they also don't have a tight end, which is a lot of times the quarterback's best friend in a lot of situations, especially a rookies. And they didn't have a dude there either. So there are some pieces that they can upgrade to take that next step. That's why the offense is the offseason is going to be so interesting to see what Denver does. They have a little bit more cap space. They've got their draft picks for the second year in a row. What can they do? Jack, real quick, you asked about what do they do at 20. Pinky and I are both on the same page. We would love to see one of the top two tight ends in Warren or why I'm drawing a blank of the Bowling Green guy.
Well, so there's three tight ends.
There's two. The third one is a little bit below, I believe. I don't think they're all three on the same level.
There's Tyler Warren, there's Harold Fanning Jr., and there's
Fanning Jr., thank
Colston
you.
Loveland.
Colston Loveland, I think, is a step below those first two guys. I don't think they're all on the same level.
I wouldn't take Loveland at 20 myself, but
so
Pinky,
I would love to see him get one of those top tight ends at 20.
Look, I feel like I will be in Green Bay for the draft, and at pick 20, like I feel like it's going to be Christmas for Pinky and all Broncos country. As long as we draft an offensive playmaker, it's going to be Christmas. Whether that's a stud running back, I think Genty will be gone. I'm not really even being delusional about that. A lot of people are like, ooh, Broncos could draft. Broncos are not getting Genty at 20. If Genty goes at 20, it's because he went into all of his interviews and slapped the GMs or just threw his dick out on the table. Like he did something really unprofessional that they're
he
like,
would
oh,
have
we
to
can't
tell
draft
everybody he's only going to play for Denver or he's going to go to the CFL.
Right.
And he's not joking. Like
that,
it would have to be like that.
He'd have to do something really crazy for him not to go top 10.
That's not happening.
Like, for me, I'm looking at the Raiders and like, well, you can't get a quarterback at 6. You're going to have to, like, Cleveland is not letting you trade up to 2. Tennessee's not letting you trade up to 1. You don't really have any, and the Giants need a quarterback too, so you're not trading in front of them. You're going to stuck picking at 6. Ashton Genty's going to be there at 6. You need a running back. Awesome, right? I just don't think he gets out of the top 10, in my opinion. He doesn't get past Dallas. If he gets to Dallas, no way.
Who are you looking at then? Stop talking about who you won't get. Talk about who you want to see.
I just feel like it's going to be Christmas for Broncos fans. Ibuka from Ohio State, Luther Burden from Missouri, Tyler Warren from Penn State in the first round are all guys. I feel like you could still, if Warren's gone and Ibuka's gone and Burden's gone, you could trade back a couple picks, grab a couple extra, and then grab Fannin. I think Fannon's going to be a pretty big playmaker.
Warren, Fannin, Burden. If you don't get one of those 3, I think you blew the pick.
I think you can get one. I think Burden.
I think Ibuka is really good. I don't see him as a true number 1. I see him more as a Jordan Addison type. Not a Justin Jefferson.
I would take Jordan Addison on my team right now.
Not as your number 1, you wouldn't.
He'd be our alpha right now. That is the fact.
Yeah, but that would be, again, you're still not getting a true number 1. That's the problem.
I'm going to be happy with any of them. I'll be happy with any of them.
Look, if I'm being honest, I wouldn't be mad with Ibuka as like a 4th option. If those first 3 are gone and Ibuka was the 4th option and that's who was there, I would be okay with that because I've said before, excuse me, if you build an elite running game and you have a really good quarterback, you can get by with your wide receiver core being a bunch of 1A or high-end 2s.
If we had a stud
in that way, so you could do that.
If we had a stud running back this year, it would have been a whole different level.
Well, the Broncos could get their stud still in round 2 or round 3, possibly. We'll talk about that as the draft comes up, but we're not going to do that now.
There's a lot of, again, Santa needs to bring Pinky a running back, a tight end, a wide receiver, a linebacker.
Jeez, that's a long list, buddy.
Probably a new safety.
They could look, Jack. Honestly, they could pretty much go anywhere they want outside of quarterback in the first round, and it wouldn't be a bad pick if it's one of the top-rated guys at their position, and they have the ability to do that. So, if the best offensive lineman somehow kept falling because it was your top offensive guys in the quarterback, the running back, wide receiver, tight end, and then it's a run on defensive guys, and the top offensive lineman's there at 20. That wouldn't be a bad pick for the Broncos either. You know what I mean? Sure. So they're in a good position. Look, in all honesty, as somebody who's been a Debbie Downer, a little bit on the negative side with the Broncos over the last couple of years and their decisions and things of that nature, they can't really go wrong with their pick at 20 this year outside of, drafting a quarterback.
Well, and again, I think they're in a good position that if the guys we kind of want aren't there, they're already gone, we can trade back and still pick up some good guys as well.
All right. That's enough Denver Broncos draft talk. Back to playoffs. Bills are rolling. And I said this before, and people kind of gave me a little bit of grief, but I said the Bills' offensive weapons are not anything to scoff at. And I did say Josh Allen, I think, is the MVP because he did a little bit more with less overall than what Lamar Jackson did, and I'm a Lamar guy. That's my dude. But James Cook is a beast, and when they let him eat, he eats. That dude eats. They have Kincaid, who a lot of people thought would break out this year, and injuries and some other things, he never quite got rolling, but showed some of the potential that he can be and how dangerous he can be against the Broncos. They've got some wide receivers who can do some. They're kind of that idea of, I got a bunch of 1As, not true ones, but Coleman could end up being a true one. That dude's got some potential.
He does.
Amari Cooper is really good. They just haven't quite got the chemistry with him and Allen just yet because he came in halfway through the season. Shakur is his dude. And when he's finding open space, they're rolling. So there's weapons, and they have Josh Allen, right? Like, Buffalo is a really scary, good, dangerous team. And everybody said that defense was going to be down this year because they lost pieces. They lost their big names, this, that, and the other. And I said at the beginning of the season, I think they're going to be fine. And they've proven to be a really solid defense all year. So,
look,
they did what they were supposed to do in the first round of the playoffs.
I love Josh Allen. I have a Josh Allen jersey. I wish the Broncos had drafted him. He's awesome. I love what the Bills are doing this year with their commitment to the run. They're running the football. You know how you have a commitment to the run? When you consistently have a sixth offensive lineman on the field and you run the football consistently. They bring on that I think it's Spencer Anderson. They bring him on, and all season, that nobody had an answer for the Bills' run game. So, they were definitely the better team at this point in time. They have the better quarterback. The Bills are rolling, and that just makes this weekend just super exciting. We missed the Texans and the Chargers.
No, I was going to get there next.
Oh,
I
okay.
saved it for last on purpose because I was going to say best for last. And the best for last is because, people like seeing us eat some crow. We took a big old plate of it. We'll do it again right now. Houston, we are sorry.
Look.
We didn't know your game, apparently. We did not respect you for what you are. We are sorry. We are terribly sorry.
Hold on. In our defense.
No, not hold on. Apologize now, damn it.
No,
just shut up and say sorry. Don't say in our defense. Don't make any excuses. Say you're sorry and let's talk about the game.
I will not.
You should.
I will
you
not.
Absolutely should.
I will not.
This is gross, Pinky.
No.
You're making excuses. It's not a good look.
Houston waited till the playoffs, which is awesome, to play their best football game. They played their best football game. With everything they had put on tape previous to this game, led everyone to pick the Chargers to win.
Yes. Now apologize because we were terribly wrong.
Hold on. I'm not there yet. Hold on.
Oh my God.
Chargers
freaking
even had you shut your mouth, Robert. You haven't even said anything this whole time, so shut up.
I mean, because I did, and then you hijacked it. You're like, go ahead and talk about something. You're like, wait, I gotta say something.
You were eating. No, hold on. You were eating.
I was not.
You were eating when I did.
I was like, hey, Caleb, let's talk about the Ravens game. And then you're like, wait, I have something to say, and then took it over. Did. So, yeah, so why should I have something to say? You took it over. It's Pinky time.
It is Pinky time. You're right.
So, go for it, buddy.
Look.
I have nothing to contribute right now, so go ahead. Nothing now? Yeah, okay. All right, cool. So anyway, I didn't have anything to say. The Texans game was great. CJ Stroud looked awesome. I'm happy the Texans finally showed up to play ball. And I will apologize as well because we, again, said that they were not going to play great, and they decided to show up and play.
Oh, see, that's where I don't agree with you guys. I don't think they played great. I'm just apologizing to Houston because we said they were going to get boat race blown out, and it was a bye for the Chargers.
They played great. They played a
They
great
did
game
not.
on.
I don't believe they did. And people want to talk about Justin Herbert having a really bad game and not showing up to the playoffs. Go back and watch. His receivers catch those balls. Game changes really quickly. Momentum changes really quickly. Play calling, the way the defense has to be on and off the field. Whole lot of things change if some of those balls are caught. Did Herbert play great? No. Did he play as awful as some people are trying to lead you to believe because he had 4 interceptions? No, not even close. So let's
How
back
many did
off that
Sam
a little
Darnold
bit.
have? Because he had just as many, right?
We'll get there. Don't even try to come down on my boy like that because we got some explaining to do for that. But Herbert didn't play as bad as the 4 interceptions say he did, and Houston didn't play as great as the score said they did. There are so many factors that went into the reason that they were able to open up the game the way they did that, good for them. They took advantage of their opportunities. But to say they played great, like they play like that next week against KC, I do think they get boat raced. I think they get blown out because KC doesn't usually allow you to capitalize on mistakes like that. And they don't usually make that many mistakes. But like once every 30 games, maybe they have a game like that. So if you're going to hope they have a game like that, fine. But the last time they had a game like that against you, you had like a 28-0 lead in the first quarter and ended up losing like 51-24 or something, or 28 or whatever it was. Like you ended up getting blown out. So I don't I'm not trying to be mean or discrediting Houston's win by any means. I apologize. I ate my crow. You guys definitely were not a buy for the Chargers, but I don't think you played great football. I'm not on that train.
All right, Pinky, what would you like to say?
Well, I'm just saying, you give me shit for not apologizing, but then you literally just said they sucked, but they won.
I didn't say they sucked. I just said they capitalized on their opportunities, but I don't think they played great. Look, I don't think they played football such that they won the game.
Houston played their best game of the season.
I don't think they did.
I think they did.
That's where I think I disagree with a lot of people. I don't think they played their best game of the season. I just think they took advantage of a lot of terrible choices the Chargers made. 4 turnovers, you should win the game. In NFL terms, if you get 4 turnovers, you win the turnover ratio that badly, you should win the game.
Absolutely. That is absolutely a fact.
I just didn't see a Houston team that dominated the Chargers, and it was whoa, where have they been all season? I saw a good football team that took advantage of their opportunity.
Again, that was a close game, and at halftime, and then it slowly got away from the Chargers towards the end.
I wanted you to openly eat your crow because we called them a bye week. We were very wrong. They were not a bye week.
We were wrong, and we said we were wrong. And again, Houston played their best game of the season this weekend, and hopefully they carry it forward. I do. I hope they give KC a good game. I was really disappointed as a football fan that all of the games this weekend were turds, besides the Commanders Bucks.
So let's go talk about that. Let's brighten the mood a little bit. Let's move over to the NFC and let's talk about the Commanders Bucks game. Did the Bucks and Baker lose it? Did Washington win it? Was it just one of those games that kind of whoever got the ball last and had that opportunity was going to win? How do you feel about it, Pinky?
I do think the Bucks lost that game, and I think they maybe weren't aware of what some of us have seen all season. Jaden Daniels knows how to finish games.
Hell yeah, he does.
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah, he does.
The games might not be completely pretty throughout, but when it comes to crunch time, that kid knows how to fucking win. And as a football fan, you gotta hats off to Jaden. Not everyone has that in them.
No.
Of being in control when the chips are down and you need to win.
I also don't think it's a learned trait. I think you can teach yourself to become better in the moment. But I don't think, unless you inherently have it, I don't think it's something you ever can be great at. You can learn to get better, but unless you have it,
and I one of the things on Twitter I hate There's a lot of Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, back and forth, whatever. Can we not just appreciate both guys? Like, they both have that trait.
Well, and I don't like the excuse route, Pinky. I don't like to live in that world. I get frustrated sometimes when we go down those roads. But Bo Nix, like, if you want to talk about numbers and situations and what each guy did for his team, I think it's comparable in the sense that nobody thought either team would be where they are. And a lot of that was because of those rookie quarterbacks' play. Just came out, though, that Bo Nix played with a broken back from week 12 on. That's going to affect a lot of things you do as a quarterback. Throwing, running, even just turning around to hand it off could be a bit of an issue at times. So I think that news coming out did limit some of his potential.
Well, that's why you saw I was wondering myself, why are we not doing designed runs with Bo Nix? He was very good at it early in the season. It was a weapon for us early in the season, then we just didn't do it. That's probably why, because we didn't want to risk further injury to the
and that's something that helped Jaden Daniels put up more numbers, is because it opened up that Washington offense.
Most teams have no.
Yeah,
he's not Lamar.
No,
he's not Lamar.
Lamar's is in his own league.
He is Lamar,
but he has a lot of Lamar light-esque.
He's not a running quarterback.
He has a lot of Lamar type traits, though. He has the ability to kind of somehow seem to avoid the big hits. He's got just enough burst to kind of get away from you. So Lamar light, if you want to call him that, I wouldn't be mad about it.
I think he's Lamar light. I at this moment, I think he's a better passer than Lamar was when he first came out.
I'm never going to agree with that, but that's only simply because I don't think Lamar was given the opportunity to shine the same way Daniels has. Lamar sure as shit didn't have no Scary Terry on his team. I mean, if we're being honest, he still doesn't have a Scary Terry on his team.
Good night, Jack. Be good, buddy. He doesn't have a Scary Terry on his team. That is true. Absolutely true. Again, Lamar has gotten tremendously better as time has gone on. I think as a thrower of the football, as it stands in the NFL, Jaden Daniels is further along than Lamar was at the time. Now, again, Lamar was held back. He had Greg Roman since he came in the league. Greg Roman, that guy knows how to run the football.
He's real good at that.
And he knows how to make you throw read 1-2. That's it. 1-2. That's it. So again, yes, I agree with you that his abilities were probably hampered his first couple years. Jaden's not got that. He's got Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury is a guy who likes to throw the football. He likes to create those opportunities. He's letting Jaden do that. That's why I think Jaden as a thrower of the football is ahead of Lamar. That may not be a fault of Lamar's. It's just a fact of what the situation is. Lamar could have done it maybe if he had a different situation. He didn't. So we didn't see it.
That's fair. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. That's fair. So I think, me personally, I think Washington won this game. And yes, Baker had the late mistake that was costly with the fumble, and people want to kind of say this, that, and the other in those regards. But I think people are forgetting Washington, and Pinky just talked about it. Their quarterback is ice cold running through his veins at the end of games. Heart rate doesn't change. He's good to go. And they had multiple opportunities this season to be in those situations and win. So it's not just that they found themselves in those situations and lost and learned. They found themselves in those situations and found a way to win every time and learn. And that the confidence that builds as an athlete, I don't care what level you're at. If you know at the end of games, no matter what, if you have the ball at the end of the game, you're going to go down and find a way to win. That confidence that the whole team will have is huge.
What quarterback has that undeniable clutch factor right now? When the ball's in his hands and
Mahomes is got to be the top, right? Like
it's Mahomes. It's Mahomes.
Absolutely.
When they are down when they need points, Mahomes gets it done. He has the gene. I don't know if Jaden Daniels is on that stratosphere yet, but he sure seems like he has it. Ooh, Spence needs a beer. Coming in hot. I kind of agree with him too, though.
We're not quite there yet.
We haven't started talking about our predictions yet.
We'll get there in just a moment, but ooh, yeah.
But yes, again, Baker. I love Baker a lot, but Baker reminds me a lot of Brett Favre. And when he's really hot, he's really hot. When he's cold. And there are just moments that he will make mistakes. Brett Favre probably should have 3 or 4 rings.
I mean, you could say the same thing about Aaron Rodgers and a few other guys, really.
Right. But I feel like they're missing the clutch gene. Now, Favre had the clutch gene occasionally because, again, he's a gunslinger. He gets things done. But consistently, they didn't win the big games they needed to win to get the rings. Right? Hopefully, and I'm comparing Jaden and Bo Nix. Just the fact that they gave their fan bases hope all season. And they did things that most people did not predict they would do. And both fan bases deserve that. They deserve having a quarterback they can be proud of, that they don't feel like every game is, I hope we win. They're thinking, hey, we're going to win because we have our guy.
Restoring some of that in 2 very classically great NFL.
I think there's very parallels there of that. Again, change of ownership.
Yep.
Josh Harris come in.
The Broncos just finally got an owner, so a little different, but still is almost like both franchises were rudderless, if you will.
Right. I just feel like they're both in a very similar situation. If they got new ownership and new direction, and then they got their quarterback, and now they're putting on a show for their fans. And
if your
I'm
head
happy
coach
for
and
Commanders
quarterback
fans.
is right in the NFL, you're going to do a lot of great things 99% of the time.
I'm super happy for Commanders fans because after all the 20-some years of Daniel Snyder, they deserve this.
Agreed. So, I will say this on the Tampa side. I can't help but wonder, why are we not talking about them as Super Bowl contenders, and what do they need to do to get over the hump and be in that conversation? Because I've eaten my crow with Baker. I think he's actually a really damn good quarterback and a franchise quarterback. They shouldn't let him go. I think they have a great wide receiving core, and Godwin's going to come back, so it only gets better.
Godwin's not coming back.
Well, I shouldn't say he's coming back. I meant he's coming back from injury. The likelihood is he will probably resign with Tampa because of the injury, because of his history. So I kind of feel like he goes back to Tampa. But we're not going to talk about that. Just
do you know why Tampa?
Just wait. Forget about that. Just forget I said that. Just okay.
Do you know why Tampa is not a championship contender like you're asking?
Oh boy,
Robert, do you know why they're not a championship contender?
They can't close games.
No. They've had a couple of those this year, though. But
they've got a great offensive line. They've got a solid running game. They have a pretty legit defense. What is missing? I'm serious. I honestly have a hard time putting my finger on it.
Head coach.
You really think it's because of Bowles?
I think Todd Bowles is an amazing defensive coordinator. I think he's a very average head coach. I don't think he's the guy to get them over the top.
Was Arians a great head coach? Would he have them in a better position? If Brady hadn't run him out of town?
Arians with Baker would actually be pretty fun. I do think. Now, again, Arians had Todd Bowles as his defensive coordinator, right? He had that side of the ball.
So let me ask you, if that was the situation, would you feel like they were a legit Super Bowl contender? Because they do seem to have all the pieces.
I think Arians is a pretty good head coach and doesn't get the credit for it.
So you think as long as Todd Bowles is the guy, they're always going to be just out of reach?
Just they're good enough, but not great enough.
Interesting.
They had to win the last week of the season to win their division.
I know, but they had a lot of injuries this year. A lot of guys kind of in and out. It's hard to say. That's
They
why
lost to the Broncos in the early season. Like they were.
What?
Todd Bowles. Okay.
I mean, how bad was the Buccaneers injuries when we played them in the early season?
They didn't really have them yet.
They were missing half their defense, weren't they? Like all of their defensive.
They were missing 3 guys on defense.
Okay.
They were missing their top corner. Vita Vea didn't play.
So their top defensive lineman, their top corner, like they're missing key pieces. You know what I mean? Like, and that was kind of all year.
We did play their offensive guys. All their offensive guys were still healthy when we played them. So,
I mean, Godwin might have been the best receiver in the NFL this year. The pace he was on to start the year before he got hurt.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, so it was a question I was thinking about. I had a hard time putting my finger on it. You want to say Todd Bowles? That I could kind of maybe.
I think Todd Bowles is. I think he can be a decent head coach. I don't think he'll ever be a great head coach. I just don't.
Okay. So Washington moves on. They go play Detroit. The other 2 games, we had Philly and Green Bay. Now people are bashing Jordan Love too. He wasn't worth the money. He's not that dude. Look, based on his skill set, what he did in the playoffs what he did from Thanksgiving on last year, he showed he's got the potential and the talent to be worth that money. Did he have a great season? No. Did he have some bad throws in that game? Yes. Is he the reason they lost that game? No. That offense, their top 2 wide receivers ended up going out. They had been kind of off all year. Their top 3.
Well, they were already out Watson.
Then Dobbs. Oh, yeah, and then Reed went out too. That's right. I forgot about that. So you lose all of that.
And
their defense was underperforming all year again for whatever reason.
Their defense played really good this game, though.
I was going to say that, though. But then, just like last year, playoffs rolled around, and I kept telling everybody their defense has the potential to show up out of nowhere and be really good. And then they did in the playoffs last year out of nowhere for no reason. They did that again this year. They showed up and played really good.
Saquon got over 100 yards. He earned every one of those
Hell
yards.
Yeah. Nothing was crazy explosive until that last play that he went down on a knee.
Yeah, that's probably a house call.
Yeah.
I think the safety had an angle, but it could have been a house call.
But either way, the Packers just didn't play good as a team. They didn't play awful, but they just didn't play good. Definitely not good enough to win against a really good Philly team that didn't play bad. They looked a little rusty, especially the offense with Hurts coming back after a couple weeks off. But they definitely didn't play bad. And Philly's just more talented, and they played better. Now, Philly lost a huge piece in Kobe Dean.
Yeah, they did.
That was a big loss for them.
I felt bad for him. I saw him. He was going out on the cart.
He was playing so good, too. He was playing so good to end the year. So that's a big loss for Philly. But the better team won. That's what happened in this situation.
Yeah, the Eagles were the better team overall. The Packers had a couple injuries on the O-line that didn't help either. And let's be honest, the Packers do not have an alpha wide receiver.
I really thought, and maybe not maybe. I bought into the hype too much coming from the mouth itself and Christian Watson. And there was something that I found really interesting that he talked about this offseason. He found out that, one of his legs is slightly shorter than the other. And he fully believed that was causing a lot of his hamstring issues and soft tissue issues. So he did a lot of kinesiology and things of that nature. I think that's the right word, kinesiology. Maybe not. I think it is, though. To kind of learn how to work out to build his body in such a way where that would no longer be an issue. He's just one of those dudes that unfortunately crazy talented, but his body's not meant for the NFL kind of thing. A lot of people call it injury prone. It's not that the dude can't play, it's that his body just lets him down through no fault of his own.
I mean, let's be
honest. By all accounts, he did everything in the offseason to make sure he was healthy to play a full season. And his body just said no, right? Like,
There's certain guys like that. Odell Beckham Jr. is probably a Hall of Fame player if he could stay healthy.
Sure. So I thought Christian Watson was going to break out and be a true alpha this year. He didn't play nearly enough to ever find out. Romeo Doubs, unfortunately, while crazy talented and maybe is a true alpha, also has really bad injury history issues.
I don't think he's an alpha. I think he's a really good number 2.
Maybe he's a T. Higgins type and he's a 1A.
If he gets out of his own head.
Potential 1. We don't know. Either way, they're top 2 dudes who could maybe both be 1s. We don't know because they don't play enough to find out. Jordan Reed? That doesn't sound right. Is that right?
Jaden
Reed, thank you. Really good. A lot of people thought he would break out as their number 1 this year. Injury issues too. But Devontae Wicks, injury issues too. Like they don't know what to do at wide receiver.
Jaden Reed is a Swiss Army knife. He can do a little bit of everything. He's not an alpha though.
You don't know that though because he's not playing enough. He could be a Steve Smith Sr. I
don't think so. He's shown
stretches of games where he is that dude.
Every single guy they have is a pretty good number 2. Wicks is probably a good 3, but they don't have an alpha.
I think you go back and look at stretches, and all of those dudes have shown they could be an alpha. They've all had 4 or 5 game stretches where they just went off on people.
Well, they have enough guys out on the field that make
and maybe that's it. Maybe you're right there, Pinky. Maybe it's my thing where it's like if you get enough of really good 1As or 2s, and you have 4 or 5 2s across the board, and your skill level never really drops off, it makes everybody else look a little bit better.
They don't have the Tyreek Hill, the Jamar Chase, the Justin Jefferson. They don't have an alpha.
So they've got some question marks going in the offseason.
To your point, they don't have the guy that you look and go, wow, we got to really game plan for this guy. They don't have that guy.
It's probably right.
A lot of guys
you're probably right there. Cheers.
We got to play a good scheme. To not let any of these guys go off, but we're not like losing sleep over one guy. So that's Green Bay.
So Philly moves on. It's what most people expected. Now, if Jalen Hurts hadn't played, we had talked about there being a difference in the game potentially, but that didn't happen.
He played.
What did you say, Robert? Sorry.
Oh, Philly and the Rams. I'm looking forward to that game.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's talk about that last game. Rams and the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, the Rams.
What a dumpster fire that was.
Let's talk about this right now. Let's get the elephant in the room and out. You're blaming Sam Darnold for this loss. You didn't watch the game and you don't understand football. Now, I'll caveat that with Sam Darnold may have played his way out of staying in Minnesota. And we'll talk about that a little more here in a second. But if I'm looking at that game last night, for me, the order of blame and who should be at fault for that Minnesota beating that they took last night is first the head coach and Kevin O'Connell, because the offensive game plan
play calling was awful.
It was bad and it never changed. They just never seemed to adjust. Secondly, I would say the offensive line didn't show up for a second week in a row, and it looks like the Rams were basically like, we're just going to do the same thing Detroit did the week before. We're going to run the exact same defense and just blitz the shit out of them.
Rock you over.
The offensive line isn't going to be able to stop us. We're good. So O'Connell first, game plan bad, never adjusted. Second, O-line. They did not block for their quarterback or the run game, really. Third, I would say the defense of Brian Flores is to blame. That top-level defense, a lot of people said might be the best or second best, third best in the league, didn't show up at all, and they never adjusted either.
Nope.
Fourth, I would say, would be Sam Darnold. To be a top quarterback in this league, you got to make up for some mistakes. He looked like a couple times last night he was seeing ghosts. And I will say, look, I'm a Sam Darnold truther. Call it what you want. That's fine. I will say I saw growth in those moments, though, because in the past he would have thrown some bad balls and turned it over. He ate a lot of balls last night that he felt were not in his best interest, which I think was a good thing.
Although
but it ended up looking bad.
I think you could coach him up to throw the ball away.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But you also have that I got to make a play in the back of my mind kind of thing. I'm going to hold it just a little bit longer, hoping somebody gets open because we got to get back in this game. So there's a lot of things you could talk about there. But O'Connell won, game plan bad, never adjusted. O-line, terrible, second week in a row. 2, 3, the defense of Brian Flores. 4, I would then say Darnold.
Caleb, Who knows what Kevin O'Connell's offense looks like and what they're
and
good
that's
at?
the issue here. You got outcoached by your mentor, if you will. The protege has not caught up yet. What's weird to me is it looked like they tried to do the same thing against the Rams that they tried to do against Detroit. And Sean McVay was like, oh, shit, I'm just going to do the same thing Detroit did, and you're going to lose. And O'Connell just didn't seem to ever catch on. And that's weird because I think O'Connell is a really good coach. So hopefully he learns from this situation and really, really takes it to heart. But unfortunately, these last 2 weeks, I think, cost Darnold his job in Minnesota. And I think he will be moving on now because of these last 2 weeks through no fault of his own, really, in my mind.
We're going to talk more about that. That's a bold move. It takes some guts to do that. But that O-line did no favors.
You look position for position everywhere on the field. I'm probably giving a slight edge to Minnesota in all regards, basically speaking. The only edge that I think the Rams had was the head coach. And that proved out to be a huge difference maker.
Well, no.
Oh, and quarterback. Sorry.
Quarterback.
And quarterback. My bad. I meant to say the only edge I would give is quarterback and head coach. Yes.
Matt
Stafford, I would give the edge over Darnold. I would not.
And Matt Stafford was locked in.
Locked in.
And I thought the Rams were going to play poorly based on them having to relocate to Arizona. Some players may be losing their house. Their families having to travel with them. There's a lot of other things that they may have had their mind on outside of football. And yet they were dialed in.
They were.
Sean McVay really had them dialed in.
This is not a situation where I think Minnesota lost the game by any means. They didn't play great, but it truly just looked like another team was very well coached and knew exactly what to do to win the game, and they went out and did it. That's what it looked like. They just executed a flawless game plan.
And the Rams got up early, so then the Vikings were trying to figure out how to catch up and not let the Rams score anymore, right? Anytime you're having to play that game, it's tough. It's tough.
I think there were two things that changed the course of the game. Two definitive plays, and they're both first half. The fumble recovery touchdown that got called back because they said Stafford threw a forward pass, which, if I'm being honest, even though I was rooting for Minnesota, it was a forward pass. And they're
Do you know who hated that?
Vicinity.
Do you know who hated that?
Everybody.
I watched the video of it. Bill Belichick.
Oh, yeah.
When
he was on with the Manning cast, he hated it a lot.
They all hated that.
But it was bad look.
They were like, he's not throwing to anybody.
By the letter of the law, he did move his hand forward to get rid of the ball, and there was a guy in the vicinity. The NFL should look at something like that, though, in the future and be like, no, that's a sack.
At the very least, he was in the grasp, and that's a sack. To be like, that's incomplete, that's not intentional ground. Like, he's got his head down. I guess I could see them saying it's not intentional grounding because Puka's nearby. I will give him credit there. But that's a sack. He's in the grasp.
Yeah.
Like, I do think when they're giving these quarterbacks that leeway, that's what makes defenders go, I've got to slam this guy to the ground.
Right, and that's what I hate, because it's like, because they lighten up because they don't want the huge unnecessary roughness penalty that would overturn a turnover and everything else, which is stupid to begin with. But because of that, you see things like this. And the NFL's got to make a decision. Like, you can't have – it's a bad look. So that was a big deal. That would have tied the game at 10. And keep in mind, Minnesota got the ball to start the second half. So then that leads to the next thing that happens. Time winding down in the first half. I think there was like 2:40 left or something like that. They were on, I think they were just over midfield, if I'm remembering correctly. It was like 4th and 2. And they went for it. Because again, if they could score a touchdown, they'd be down by a touchdown at that point. And they got the ball to start the second half. So they're in a position, or they would have tied the game maybe, and then they got the ball to start the second half. Something along those lines. It makes them in a really good position. Unfortunately, those two plays did not go Minnesota's way, and then things kind of snowballed. the waterfall started rolling, and it turned bad. So congratulations to the Rams, though. Like you said, Pinky, they were locked in, and I do believe their game plan was executed to perfection. They won the game. I do believe that.
Cheers to the Rams. Overcoming adversity, more adversity than most teams have to deal with. Cheers to the Cardinals being very
Great.
Did you
going
see
above.
all that they did for them? Like,
Yeah,
that
going
was-
above
that
and
was
beyond.
nuts, man. That
Well
was
done.
So,
I don't even know who the Cardinals owner is, but tip of the cap because that was very well done.
Bidwell is his name.
Okay.
So, all right. So that's
Now, Pinky,
that
let's
was the
discuss
weekend?
some divisional round matchups, good sir.
Before that, though, there's one thing we got to talk about, because we talk about some weird things on this show.
Okay.
What about that Philly fan?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up because I was going to talk about it as some nonsense to start, and then I just forgot about it. Eat a giant dick. You're an
Dang.
ass. I am so glad that the Philly, what's his name, Big Dom, and
Yeah.
their security got on top of it. The dude has been banned from Philly games for life. You want to be an asshole, eat your medicine. Hate fans like that, can't stand them. Go.
You're not a fan if you're like
Now-
that, honestly. You're just a dick.
Now, I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but there is some information out there that this couple was actually provoking Eagles fans, and that's why that's why her boyfriend was recording it. And that just went, well, if they're provoking you and you still go way over the line, I still can't give you grace. You went so far over the line. If you
can
went,
poke the bear all you want if you're doing it in such a way that's not being an ass.
look, if you went to the Raiders black hole in a Broncos jersey or a Chiefs jersey, and you were talking some mad shit, your bad things are going to happen to you.
Same can be said if you were an opposing team in Denver Broncos stadium. I've seen
Up in the 500.
Broncos are not very great fan base a lot of times.
Up in the
unfortunately.
500. Now again, I've been up in the 500s. That's where I live. If you wear an opposing team jersey and you are feeding into it, you're being obnoxious right back, bad things happen. Absolutely. And that I think that goes with almost every stadium you're in.
Probably.
There are a couple stadiums that you are really risking your life in when you are being a dick. Philly is one of them.
Probably.
Now, there's no video of what may have provoked this guy. This guy is inebriated. You can tell in the video. But the things he was saying to this Packers fan, and she's not actually
Unacceptable.
saying anything to him. She's just cheering her team and being happy. He really, and again, I think you have to remember we're not in the 90s, right?
Not even
And
that, dude. It's one of those things, and I've always believed this. Somebody shows you who they are, believe them. Don't try to lie to yourself or make excuses or say they're not. If they show you who they are, believe them. That dude showed everybody who he was. No different than that Philly asshole basketball fan.
Right.
Who went through and then knocked a couple dudes out just because he thought he was some hot shot or whatever. Like,
Talking about the Baltimore guy?
the Baltimore guy. Sorry, not Philly basketball. The Baltimore guy. Yeah. If somebody shows you they're an ass, then believe they're an ass.
So this Philly guy has been banned for life. He has also been fired from his job as well. In fact, Twitter was very quick. They had his name and they had his place of employment and his phone number and his email. So quick.
Yeah, dude. Your true colors show. Bad things happen. Karma will catch up. Well, guess what? It happens really quick in this modern age.
Now, in the grand scheme of things, he said words. He didn't hit anybody. He wasn't violent against anybody, but he was being pretty bad. Does that deserve
but
life
some of those words show
changing?
your true beliefs on certain things. If those are your true
I know.
beliefs, then hey.
Did that warrant life-changing repercussions? Maybe not, but
Well, then let's talk about the Yankees situation then. Does that warrant life-changing repercussions?
I don't remember either one of them getting fired from their job.
yeah, they didn't
No,
get
but
fired from their job.
no, but
banned.
they're banned from stadiums for life.
They should be. They
They're
absolutely
banned from
should be.
Yankee Stadium for life.
No, they are banned from all
MLB.
MLB.
Oh,
they
they're-
changed it.
oh.
They're banned from all.
Hey, you don't
But they deserve
aggressively
it.
touch a player.
They didn't even try to
Like,
say it
that's-
was an accident. They openly came out and talked about how that is what they tried to do. So ban them,
Right.
Because you went way above and beyond what any fan should be allowed to do in
You-
a stadium. So yeah,
In a weird way, they tried to hurt Mookie Betts. I don't know why they would try to do that, but that's what they tried to do.
because they thought it helped the Yankees win the game, and they think they're a part of that outside of just being able to yell really loud, and that's stupid.
So, again, if you go
They
to a
went,
game,
Pinky. They went like Celtics pride.
right?
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Come on, that's a reference.
boy.
Come on, that's a reference.
Look, have fun. If you want to shit talk and be a little obnoxious, okay. Do understand that your actions have consequences, right?
Yep.
Sometimes not always good. People are passionate about their sports. Sometimes too passionate, right? It's just a game. But
Now there's passion, and then there's, I don't even want to say fanatical, because even a fanatic can be appropriate at the very least. Respectful. You can still be respectful and be a fanatic. This dude was just an ass. Plain and simple.
I had one instance when I was splitting season tickets with a guy. We were always up in like 519 or 520, and there was just this lady. If you were an opposing fan, she would lay into you, and she was awful. Her voice was awful. Everything she said was awful.
Dang.
Like she was bad. Like if my wife doesn't like confrontation, but if my wife was like, you know what, shut up and I'm gonna go punch you in the face, I'd have been like, yeah, you do that. Like she was bad and her voice was annoying, and I was just like, she never said like F you, and she never went to those depths, but she was still really, really obnoxious. At some point, we just got to understand this is still just a game, guys. It's still just a game. It's okay that somebody else loves a different team. It's okay. We don't have to take it to those extreme levels as a fan.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the bottom line. Because Pinky said so.
There you go.
All right, Pinky.
All right. Divisional round. Hopefully the best weekend of football. Hopefully.
All right, Pinky. Let's do this. We'll do this speed round style.
Ooh.
This is how we're gonna do it. I'm gonna ask both of you, and then I'll give mine on each game. Pinky, you'll start. Robert, you will go next on each game. We're gonna do this speed round style. Here we go. Who wins Buffalo, Ravens, and why? Buffalo, Baltimore. Who wins and why, Pinky?
I think Baltimore wins, and I believe it's going to come down to the Baltimore defense, who's been playing much better since they moved Kyle Hamilton around. I think they'll be able to stop the run, forcing Josh Allen to have to throw, and in those moments, he doesn't have a true alpha. He's got some good wide receivers. He's got some good weapons. But I just think Baltimore is going to be able to put it on him.
All right.
And I do think you can run on Buffalo. And we all know King Henry has run on almost everybody this season. That's why I've got Baltimore to win.
I like it. Robert?
Baltimore, because Lamar Jackson's a baller, and I personally think they will learn from the mistakes from last year and stick with what they know and just run the ball.
I love it. I like Baltimore as well because outside of the quarterback, I think for the most part, these are identical teams in a lot of ways, and Baltimore is just slightly better at the skill positions. little more talented at every position, which is part of the reason why I thought Josh Allen was the MVP. That's unfortunately going to hurt him in this playoff game, and I think Baltimore does pull it out. I think both of these teams have been very similar to in the past, where they're both looking to get over that hump, and they've had those close games where they lost, and they've learned from it. Baltimore lost the AFC Championship game last year to KC because they forgot that they could run the ball and control the clock and a lot of other things.
How many runs did they have, Caleb? Do you remember?
Was it 6 total?
It was 6, baby.
Yeah. So
6. Only 6 runs.
Just crazy. You learn, and you don't do the same thing again. They almost beat Kansas City. If our guy Isaiah Likely was a half shoe size smaller, they get that game. Buffalo beat KC this year. But they've done that in the regular season before and then not been able to do it in the playoffs.
Right.
These teams are just so similar in so many ways when I truly break it down that I think it comes down to the fact that I do believe Baltimore is just a little bit better skill-wise in all the plays where it matters. The quarterbacks are identical, I think, in a lot of ways.
What's the one? I do think there's an edge Baltimore has, and I think it's a pretty big edge over Buffalo.
What?
Robert, what do you think?
And
we always say this on the show that this matters.
Is it play action?
No, they both run play action pretty well.
Okay, I don't know.
Caleb, what matters in sports?
Controlling the line of scrimmage? Is that where you're going? The dudes inside?
No, I mean, they both do that.
Head coach? Is that where we're going? Harbaugh over McDermott? I'll give you that.
Harbaugh is a way better head coach than McDermott.
I don't know if I'd say way better. I think, unfortunately, McDermott has had some mistakes in just the wrong times where they weren't even necessarily mistakes, but they were decisions that turned out really bad for them, unfortunately. Don't get me wrong. I think Harbaugh's a better coach. I don't think it's a huge gap. I think it's the same thing as everything else. Very similar teams. There's just an edge on the other side.
I think there's a huge gap. I think Harbaugh is a way better coach than McDermott.
Fair. Okay. Well, we've all got Baltimore. Let's see how that runs down. I think it's a fairly close game. Like Spence Needs a Beer said earlier, 31-24. Maybe not necessarily a touchdown difference, but even that could be a really close game with Buffalo having the ball towards the end or something like that. Baltimore scoring a late touchdown. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a really good game, and it's going to be exactly what we hope it will be. That is what I believe these two quarterbacks, teams, head coaches will put on. They're going to put on a show. Kansas City, Houston. Pinky, who wins? Why?
Kansas City wins. And I don't think Houston will perform in the cold. It's going to be cold.
They're talking a nasty wind chill.
We're going to be cold this weekend. It's going to be as cold or colder in KC.
Single digits, maybe negatives. We're talking really cold. Yes.
I don't think that bodes well for a team from Houston.
Okay. Attaboy, Jack. Welcome back.
I love the commitment, Jack.
Yeah, I love it. Robert, who wins? KC, Houston. Why?
KC, I mean, again, Houston doesn't play in the cold. I don't think CJ Stroud's up to the task of playing Patrick Mahomes. I just don't. As well, not great as they played this weekend, according to you. I don't think they just have the guts in them to really stick it to KC. It's just not going to happen. I hate to say it. Yeah,
KC wins. I think they really started figuring a lot of things out at the end of the year. I do think they were kind of resting some guys during the regular season. I do believe they really want this three-peat. I think they were – I don't necessarily want to say downplaying, but I think they did kind of coast a little bit in the regular season, more so than people would like to believe. And I still think look, I know Pinky and Robert don't like this take. I'm not trying to be an ass. I just don't know what else to call it. I do think they are a dominant team, regardless of what they've shown per se in the ways they've won. When you are able to win that much and find a way, like we were talking about with Washington, and know if you have the ball at the end of the game, you're going to find a way to win. Nobody does that better than KC and Patrick Mahomes. And Pinky, you even said that yourself.
So So I say again, they know how to win gene. They don't have the dominant gene.
And that's fine. Semantics all you want there, but we still kind of feel the same way about you let them have the ball at the end of the game with a chance to win, they're probably going to win. I think we both kind of agree with that. So that being said, I do think they've kind of figured some things out. I think Hollywood Brown coming back and getting healthy was a big deal for that offense. Pacheco is back now. I think him and Kareem Hunt are going to be a big deal. It gave that defense a chance to get healthy with those 3 weeks rest. KC rolls. I truly believe they roll. And I think a lot of that is because Pinky said Houston played their best game. He believes they played their best game last week. And if they can repeat that, I don't think that's anywhere close to enough to beat KC in the playoffs when they're playing for what they finally want to play for.
The only way they beat KC is if they can really pressure and hit Mahomes. That's the only way for me. That's what I think. Jack, just to let you know, I wasn't born until 1980, so you are definitely older than me, my friend.
Man.
16
right. years older than me, Pinky.
So we've got Baltimore KC in the AFC Championship. That would be played in KFC for a repeat of week. What was that?
In KFC, that's right. In KFC.
KFC. Oh my God. My dyslexia and everything else is all over the place.
You're not even drinking that hard tonight. Come on.
No,
you're better than that.
It's just bad tonight. In KC. And was it week 1? Did they meet and they lost?
Week 1.
So a repeat of that. That'll be really good if we see that. NFC side. Quick hit. Pinky. We got Philly and LA. Who wins? Why?
Oh, man. LA wins.
Whoa.
And I don't even have a reason. I just
okay.
I like Philly. I like that they.
Ooh, wait! I can answer this question.
I like that Philly builds their team from the inside out, as we've talked about. That's how to be successful. I've always liked that about Philly. I like that Philly has Saquon. Jalen Hurts isn't really playing great football. He is not playing the quarterback position really well right now. And if we get Matthew Stafford from this last week, it's hard to stop Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams. Like, those are tough guys to stop. Man, I'm going with the Rams, and
Okay.
I don't really have great reasons.
Robert, who wins and why?
I'm going to give you great reasons, Pinky.
Okay.
I also am choosing the Rams for a few things. One, again, third favorite team right now, like of my life. That's who I grew up watching. I want to see the Lions and the Rams go at it again. Last season's playoff game was awesome. This is the reason why the Rams will win. Because they have something to play for. LA is in shambles. They're in the playoffs. Their entire city is watching them for something right now. They have something to bring back. They have heart. They have something to win and go after. That is why they're going to win.
All right.
They will beat Philly.
They also have the better head coach.
LA gets boat raced. LA gets smoked.
Damn.
Philly,
I had a nice heartfelt moment. You just
Philly
truck it.
runs through this and it's not even close. They used
How
up
rude.
all their emotional goodwill energy last week.
No.
They go on the road, West Coast to East Coast, against what might be the best team in the league. And yes, I said missing Jacoby Dean is going to be a big deal, but they have so many pieces on that offense.
I don't know.
That secondary is scary good. Kenyon Mitchell is playing at a phenomenal level. Barkley runs through that defense, and Jalen Hurts, if they need to, will throw the ball plenty enough to Goddard, Brown, and Smith. I got no issues here. Philly wins big.
I don't know if this is the best team. It's arguably one of the best rosters, though, for sure. For sure.
So there you go. The other game, Detroit, Washington. Pinky, who wins? Why?
Washington. No, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry.
What?
Detroit wins. I don't think Washington's defense will be able to stop Detroit from scoring.
Okay.
Okay, I was like,
Sorry. Detroit's gonna win. This is a great story. Washington's way ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
They have a great quarterback, but Detroit is going to put up so many points so quickly on these guys. I think this is what's going to happen. They're going to be up like 21-0, 21-7, and it's just going to continue to be an avalanche where then you're forcing Jaden Daniels to have to make those big plays. And normally when that happens, bad things happen. Normally.
Robert, who wins? Why? I mean, we know, but who wins? Why?
Lions Nation. That's why they're going to win. Just because, again, as Pinky said, they are a bit ahead of schedule. I don't think Jaden Daniels is ready for that type of a show quite yet. But he's there. It'll be interesting, but the Lions are just going to run up a 50. I really think it'll be a boat race 50 burger coming. Absolutely.
I could see that, actually.
They've been doing it all season. So why would it be any different now? I don't know.
I could see that, actually. I think Montgomery coming back is a big deal. I think Sonic and Knuckles roll. I think they control that line of scrimmage.
Which
I think you could see Washington put up some points. Detroit's just look. Everybody knows the story about that defense and being decimated. Yeah, they had a good run last week against Minnesota, and they had a great game plan they were able to execute. But with the guys they have playing, being able to do that week in, week out would be a big ask. So I could see Washington putting up some points. But I could still see it being like 42-27, 42-21. Like, I could still see this being where Washington put up some points, but they still got boat raced. Detroit wins big. That offense is so good. And the defense can do just enough to make sure you win games. And when the other team is constantly having to play from behind because of what your offense is doing and the amount of pressure they're putting on the other team to score, it lets that defense be better than maybe they are because they know what the other team has to do. They have to score. So it puts that pressure on, which allows Detroit to be in a good position. So we get the NFC matchup that I think a lot of people expected to see at the beginning of the year and expect to see when the playoffs started, and really are the two best teams in the NFC, I think, as the year went on, in Detroit and Philly. So that'll be I don't think any way you can go wrong.
Completely bypassed that we both picked the Rams and he picked Philly. So, sure, okay.
What do you mean?
You literally just said Philly and Detroit's going to play, but Robert and I both picked the Rams to win.
But it's going to be
baby.
Philly and Detroit. I did
not.
say now. Yeah, I totally bypassed that because you guys are out of your minds thinking the Rams.
No.
Out of your goddamn minds. And if I got to eat crow, fine. We know I'm okay with that. But there's no way. There is no way LA goes into Philly and wins with everything they got going on.
Can you answer this question here, Caleb? Why is Detroit's offense so good?
Yeah, because they know what they are, and they have arguably the best run game in the league, and they play play action off of that with maybe the best play action quarterback in the league.
Why are they able to do that?
Because they control the line of scrimmage.
They have one of the best O-lines in the game.
I think Ben Johnson, look, and I've always believed this. Ben Johnson is a great OC, but OCs sometimes get a little bit too much credit when
I'm not sure he's going to be a good head coach
when they have guys, when they have the amount of weapons Detroit has. When you can do what Detroit's able to do, a lot of times it's not necessarily because of the play calling, it's because of the players. So while Ben Johnson is good and he's definitely putting his players in positions to succeed, sometimes I think guys like Jared Goff don't get enough credit making that offense do what it does. So we'll see. But yes, sorry, Pinky, I did totally just bypass. You guys are crazy thinking the Rams are going to win.
I don't know. I love Philly, man. I got my Jason Kelsey jersey. I like Philly. I love that their O-line and D-line are both awesome. I just don't think Jalen Hurts is playing good football. I don't.
I think people are look. Everybody complained, and then they went out that week when people said they couldn't throw the ball, and they threw for 300 plus yards, and I think Jalen Hurts can still turn it on if he needs to. I think they're just choosing not to.
I mean,
They're
would
smart.
you agree? Would you agree that the Rams had the better quarterback and the better head coach?
Yeah, I'm not going to argue that.
So it's not crazy that the Rams could win this game.
I think it is because unlike Minnesota, Philly's pieces are so much better outside of that. Their wide receiving core, their tight end, their offensive line, their running back, their defensive line, their secondary, their linebackers, everything. Philly is stacked. So yeah, I think it'd be a little wild, considering Minnesota had their opportunities to still get back into the game and make it a game, and weren't able to do so. Dude, the Rams aren't doing what they did to Minnesota's offensive line to Philly's offensive line. Like, there's no way that's happening. So you start right there. Well, you're not controlling the line of scrimmage. What happens then? By the third quarter, Saquon's got a $130 and a couple tuds. So we'll see. But yeah, I just don't think there's any way the Rams win this game. I can't. Theoretically, could I give you a scenario? Yeah. Do I think any of those? Would I believe any of them? Honestly, no, not even close.
I mean, I like Philly, so if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. There's just something about the way I've seen them play.
That's fair. I mean, that's what I did picking Notre Dame to beat Ohio State, right? So I'm not going to be mad at you for it. I just don't. You crazy. You boys crazy. You crazy.
So hopefully it's a great weekend of football. I think it's Chiefs, Texans on Saturday, Commanders, Lions, and then Philly and Rams. Is it Baltimore, Buffalo, the night game?
I think so.
We need that to be the night game on Sunday. That needs to be the night game. Like, Philly Rams is a good game-ish, but Baltimore
Ravens Bills is the 19th at 4:30.
Well, what time?
Yeah,
is
it's the night game.
It's a night game.
Well,
okay.
afternoon, but yeah, it's the night game.
Perfect.
And then
perfect.
Lions Commanders is a night game. That's what I love about Saturday. Saturday they do the afternoon and then the night game, and then Sundays they do the morning afternoon game. So, all right. Well, final thoughts, boys. Pinky.
Hey, Shedeur Sanders is at the Nuggets Mavs game.
Oh my God, do not start another conversation.
All right, Robert. Final thoughts.
Nuggets are rolling, by the way. They're rolling.
Creature Commandos was awesome. I loved this entry for the DC Comics universe that James Gunn is taking. I loved a lot of the characters they brought in and how they're going to portray them in live action. I'm super excited. Skeleton Crew finale is out now. I'll be watching that currently after this episode that we are currently on, and I'm excited. A lot of good stuff.
We'll have just some discussions of Star Wars next week, probably, with the Skeleton Crew.
Hold on. Give me another week. Let me actually get through the show.
Oh, you are gonna watch it?
Wait. Do better, suck less.
All right, Pinky. We'll give you an extra week. You've been fair to me many a time. I have no issues with that. So we'll give it a second to breathe.
Let me now that
catch up. Okay.
Now that it's done. Let me.
You like to binge? We'll give you the 2 week. Fair enough. I'm excited about. I think we're going to get some good games this weekend, and I'm excited to see, the best play the best kind of thing, and see what they can do. See Jaden Daniels go against maybe the best team in the league and what he can do. Lamar, Josh Allen, C.J. Stroud in Houston, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs legit? Are they going to roll? Are they going to make it? There's so many fun storylines that I'm really excited about it.
If the Chiefs' weather is like what it's going to be here this weekend, it's going to be negative out there.
I know. So pay attention. A lot of things. Championship game is next Monday. National championship for the NCAA. So that's why we talk about it now. We'll know the winner by the time we come back on. That'll be fun. Yeah, man. Let's go. On that note, do not do not miss the opportunity to take advantage of those loved ones, family, friends, inner circle to cherish and, make those memories with. Do not take those moments for granted. We love everybody. We cannot thank you enough for any support you provide to us. If there's anything you want to hear from us, as always, hit us up. Find one of the ways on social media to get at us. Pinky, Robert, you my boys.
Wait,
love you.
Hold on. Jack, is that an invitation to jump on the show? I can come on. I've got access. I can jump on the show. Let me know. I'll come on. Wild Wild West. Let's go.
Good night, everybody.
Peace. We're out.